No, you have switch all over your face.
Welcome everyone to the Public Works Committee meeting. At this time, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of our previous meeting. And Mr. Bruno on the motion, a second. Ms. Decker on the second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. Thank you, everyone. Without objection, let's move right into our solid waste and recycling agenda. We'll open it up first for the privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here wishing to address the Public Works Committee at this time? There being no one, Kevin, what's the first action item we have in front of us?
So the only two items that I have on the Public Works Solid Waste and Recycling is to request to increase the salary for a non-union position and a notice of intent to fill the position. So I think I made everyone aware. If everyone is not aware, Thomas has moved on. Thomas has moved on. He got a better position. Actually, he's got similar position to what he was doing here, but it's in Norwalk, Connecticut for a significant amount more of money. So I tried to convince him to stay. I even talked with Jackie a little bit about, there's the possibility that, maybe we can hit this level or what he would need. It didn't matter. He was convinced, and it's a resume builder for him. I understand it. It's a tough loss. I've kind of divided the duties up amongst others at the department, which is not sustainable. We did just get through the household hazardous waste day. But I don't want things to come to a screeching halt. And Thomas really did a great job of moving things forward for the county. So I reached out to Jackie, and I also reached out to my other superintendents around New York State to determine what, if any of them had this type of position, and what the position salary was. So as of today, I think I've gotten 10 or so back. The first, say 5 or 6 or 7, I wrote down. The average salary was anywhere between $54,000 to $62,000 a year. So when we hired Thomas, I had a very difficult time of getting people into this position. Thomas was the only person who was actually qualified based on the requirements we had for this position. I had others apply, and they didn't have the qualifications, and I don't think they're difficult qualifications, and I don't think we want to change them. But I feel that we're not going to get somebody in here unless we increase the salary. So the current salary that Thomas had, or that position has right now, is $50,633. Based on the grades that were created a couple of years ago when Administrator Moore was here for the non-unions, I think that falls into, he's at a grade 8 currently. I think I would like to move that position to a grade 11, which puts it at $59,212, and that falls within the range of the salaries that I saw across the state from other counties. So the first one would be to increase the salary, and then the second one would be to notify or notice of intent to fill the position.
All right, let's for discussion purposes, let's have a motion to bring these two items forward for discussion. Mr. Stroud on the motion, Mr. Bruno on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, discussion.
Does the grade 11 fall within what he's actually doing? It seems like a grade 11 is pretty high. He doesn't have any, this person, he or she doesn't have any subordinate employees.
They don't have any, they could, depending on how we move forward in the future. They don't currently right now. But the responsibilities of this position and the grade 11, and I'm trying to think of other individuals within my department who fall under that kind of grade 11 or grade 12. Jeff Ingley, who's our fish hatchery manager, is a 12. Jeff really, he only has one person underneath him in the hatchery. But the responsibility is really not that much different from what he does from what Thomas is doing. I mean, Thomas was running the organics management plan, the household hazardous waste, staying on top of the permitting throughout. I mean, there's a significant amount of work that goes into it. And again, when I laid out the question to all the other counties throughout New York State, as I told them what our responsibilities were, they didn't even have half those responsibilities as what we were doing. So I think comparing him kind of to something like what Jeff Ingley does as the grade 12, this falls within that same kind of scenario.
I mean, what we have here is a very major county initiative. We have our recycling center. We have a grant pending for how much to help finance that?
$1.7 million.
$1.7 million. This person's going to spearhead the implementation of that. In addition to that, we have our movement to recycling green waste. And you can put whatever number you want to put on that, 30% of our waste stream, 40%, whatever it is. You know, the person that we hire here, and to maintain the data associated with all of this, including our private haulers, and to work with our partners in the private sector that have worked with us so well to this point in time. I mean, this is, I'm very concerned that we, I mean, I think we're going to hit a slow point regardless, but I would hate to think we're going to lose ground here. That would be so. Mr. Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think if you look at the job description included here, I mean, there's a lot of responsibility, a lot of what I would term critical responsibility here, because as we all know, solid waste is the control of that, the management of that is uppermost in a lot of people's minds, a lot of people above us in the state and whatnot. So again, there's a lot of responsibility here, and you could expand these. This says typical work activities. I realize it says illustrative only, but it covers it pretty good, and you could actually add that. So, in my opinion, this warrants that grade 11 as a minimum. Thanks.
I think
was
we have
gonna say that, I
an
think
situation.
Convince me it should be a 12, sorry.
Supervisor Stack.
Kevin, do you anticipate having an internal candidate at this point, or?
I do not.
And I'm concerned just to follow on, I am concerned with the timeline associated with filling. Can you give us a sense of that?
I'd like to do it as quickly as possible if this passes through. I can't guarantee how quickly someone's going to come in here. I can say that the fortunate part for us is that we've been working with Zero Waste all along, and Thomas has, and they have a network of people, and they know that Thomas has left as well. And they're more than willing to kind of put this out through their network, which goes across the country, to see if that we could get somebody in here as well. So they're going to assist by putting out feelers.
All right, let me open this up beyond the committee. Supervisor Stroh.
It's not going to surprise me at all. I mean, Thomas is left for much more money because that's the market. So we're asking somebody that has the same skill sets as Thomas had, and you know, it's not much. So I'm willing to go along with grade 11, but I'm not going to be a bit surprised if Kevin comes back and we're not enticing any quality here with this kind of money. Won't surprise me.
I see Supervisor Wild at the podium. So, Supervisor.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. It's been quite a while since I graduated from college, but I've looked at this, and this is a 4-year science degree that someone needs to have. It probably costs at the minimum $200,000 to get that degree. Are we going to be able to attract someone at that salary level? We need to, I'm thinking about, we have the Syracuse ESF, or maybe Paul Smith's. It's graduation time. And we maybe take a run up there and find out if we can get somebody quickly, because that's what we're looking for. But getting back to my original point, is this going to be enough to attract someone? We run into this all the time. Granted, it's the county. Granted, we have great benefits. They used to be better, but they're still great benefits. If this is that important, then, comparing to counties that have similar positions, but not the same requirements, may not be what we need to look at. And so we're competing for talent in across the board. So if it's that important, maybe we should start pushing, and salary might be part of that also. Thank you.
Well, I think if you would let me, I mean, I think that, as you well know, this employment issue is a major issue across the board, across public and private spectrums right now. And it is we're seeing it obviously here, we're seeing it in our CDL drivers, we see it with our nurses. I mean, we see it across the board. And I mean, I think we need to maybe follow the approach by our superintendent, with the understanding that Mr. Stroud has brought, that it wouldn't surprise us in the least that we don't get the kind of applicants that we would hope for. And if we find ourselves in that position, then I think we have to make, we have no choice but to make the adjustment. If we don't make it today, we're certainly may end up having to make it at that moment in time, which would be some weeks down the road. But Supervisor?
Kevin, I have another question. So when you, I think I echo Supervisor Stroud and Supervisor Wild. The question that I have is, why are you coming forward with grade 11 versus maybe higher at grade 12? Are you trying to fit an internal compression issue where looking across the board in your department, you're not able to go up?
It's your
Because
current
I
budget, it's
support the remarks that are made, because in the private sector, the state now requires minimally, $55,000 annually for salary, and they're talking about increasing in its current budget right now. So this is not a far stretch. So help me understand why we're coming at this with, I think we're all on board that it needs to go up and that this is a critical position. I just want to be sure we don't propose going to grade 12 and then upset the rest of the structure within the.
And I don't think it would. And the only reason that I picked that is Jackie and I had a discussion about where it fell throughout New York State and said, okay, if these other counties are kind of paying this range of salaries from 54 to 63 or whatever it might have been, we should be at least fitting inside that. This is under the A code, with Thomas leaving. And before I fill it, there will be some savings in money, at least maybe for this year, but may have budget ramifications for next year. But that will be a part of budget discussions. I don't have any other positions, I believe, kind of under the A code that I can kind of boost this salary at this current time. In fact, I think in all reality, we may need, if we go to say a 12, we may need to look for some funding to be put into salaries to cover the cost of this.
Supervisor?
Follow up. So can you tell me where the grade 11 ends? Is this at the top of the range, or is this?
This is the bottom of the range.
The bottom of the
Bottom.
range?
The bottom of the range for a grade
So
11.
we
That's
could-
a starting position for a grade 11.
So we could approve you to look, or we could look at approving some sort of range.
And we've done that in the past. I don't recall if we still do it, but we have done that in the past where we put a range in there.
I think that would be a wise thing to do. I think that it would maybe help begin to address some of the concerns. I mean, we all, I think, have heard the recent governor's budget message relative to wages and the adjustments over the next 2 years. I mean, $20 an hour is $40,000 a year. So we'll call this $25 or whatever an hour for a professional person in a position. That going forward, I mean, all of these are going to be a real struggle, for us. I can tell you. I mean, I do believe our civil service lists are becoming very insipid, very thin, and without any explanation. That's just where we find ourselves today. Kevin?
With that range, I have it right here. So for a grade 12 starting position, that's 62,422 as an entry level. 13 goes up to 65. So, but the 11 starting is 59, and at a 10th year step for that 11, it's 67. So I'll leave it to the committee of what they think that the range should fall between. But again, across the state, it's anywhere from 54 to 63 right now. And that's as an entry level for those positions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd also recommend, since we've already had discussions with the HR director on the appropriate grade for this position, I'd like to take that recommendation and we'll figure out what a reasonable range to advertise the position has.
And then I like the idea of, at that moment in time, if we need to make an adjustment, right? I mean, if we're not. In other words, we're talking about hiring somebody here that's hopefully going to move forward with some very major programs for us, and we want it done. You know, not 10 years from now. We want this done yesterday. So this is it's going to save the communities and residents a lot of money. We can be successful on a lot of this. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on, as Ron had talked about earlier, is the $1.7 million grant. We should know at the end of this month, sometime into May, whether or not we're receiving that grant. But as of right now, I have currently nobody to administer that. I mean, I will take it upon myself to do the best I can, but I just don't have the staff right now. And that's the critical need, to get somebody in here to really to move that.
And that's just a recycling center.
That's just a recycling
program.
center.
That is not the full solid waste matter. And we have a consultant on board. And then the question is, who's working and with the consultant and
Right now.
right, and informing the consultant. We have a very major solid waste study that we're doing. So we hopefully will resolve the issue and move forward in good fashion. John?
So are we gonna set the range now, or either gonna investigate that and get back to us? Because this position needs to be filled immediately. And so are we looking, a starting salary of 65?
I don't want to say that. I want, I gave you the numbers of what it was across the state. I
That's what it
feel,
was.
right. That's
And
their,
what is it now?
these are their starting positions across the state,
Yeah.
anywhere from 50.
And they're dated.
Yeah, some of them probably are.
Yeah.
So I guess I would say, if we're going to stick with the grade 11 and not necessarily go to a grade 12, then I would look at the steps from 1 to 5. And I'm not sure what those numbers are. So it's 59 through
65.
65.
Yeah, there you go.
So we want
That would be
to
the range.
use that range.
If we could hire somebody that we don't have to do, we have less training with it, it's coming in here with the experience, that's a big plus. Somebody has a success record somewhere else. Or is part of a success story somewhere else. And that's what you want, isn't it? Yeah, sure.
Somebody can hit the ground running. Yes.
So, do we want to add to this, committee, resolution, the authorization to go out for, solicitation? For this position?
Now, if you give me the go ahead today on the notice of intent to fill and the increase to the salary, if we use that range, I will have Trish have something out right away. I don't have to wait for board approval for her to start advertising.
Okay. All right, then, John?
So just thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we go, then, because I don't have the salary schedule in front of me, what would be for grade 12, step 1 through 5, the range?
62, 422 to 69, 556.
I think, given the importance of the position, Mr. Chairman, I think we could support that.
What's the sentiment of the committee? Grade 12? Claudia?
My thought is to go back to what John said earlier. Let's go with the recommendation. Put it out for a starting range that goes grade 11 up to the 5th increment. And then if you find someone who's really good and has experience, you could come back to us and ask to start them at a higher than the 5th increment. But go with that. I mean, we're
Mhm.
probably not going to get someone really experienced right
John?
out of the gate.
You're talking about somebody that understands grants. Okay, we both know. We also know if we hire people regularly. And I hire people from the county regularly.
Yes, you do.
Oh, sure.
You need to be in the 65 right now.
Dan? Your
Well,
thoughts?
I agree. I don't. Do I like it? No, but it's reality.
All right, let's, for the committee members then, what's the pleasure of the committee? I'll need a motion.
And modified to go to 12? Well, I'll do that, because we have a
Okay.
motion on the floor, right?
No, I just opened it up for discussion.
Okay.
John wasn't on the committee. I just, this is much bigger.
Oh, John's
All right, so
not on this committee, John.
Claudia,
Huh?
I didn't want to break it to you, so soon.
Good input.
I'll make the motion then.
Okay,
Sorry.
and Dan, in a
Raise the
second to
decision
go to
or
12,
increase.
and I see, Mr. Merlino.
I just want to hear a little loud. I'm sorry, I can't hear. What is the number we're talking about?
62, I think.
62.
62 to 67.
69,
69.
correct?
Posting grade 12.
Okay, yeah, all right.
And I see Mr. Wild at the podium. Mr. Wild?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Can't we put something like commensurate with experience and not have a specific range? Well, I had, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I think that, Mr. Chairman, I believe that would violate the New York state rules now. They're even applying salary ranges to private sector positions, I believe. So I think we have to do that.
So just to clarify it, I'm suggesting a motion to increase to the grade 12 and then give you authorization up to the 5th increment.
Correct.
And then if you need to go beyond that, you'd have to come back to
I'll
us.
come back to
Okay.
Mr. Bruner,
Yes.
do you agree with
I
that?
agree.
That's the motion before us, before the committee. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Good discussion. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. McGowan. No. Please, I'm sorry. I didn't see you.
Well, I just wanted to say before the vote, maybe to help it move along. But if done correctly, this also could be a little revenue generating
Mhm.
position too. I mean, as recycling goes on, that's all I want to say. So thank you for the opportunity.
No, that's a very good point. Very good additional point. And thank you for your patience and understanding. All right, Kevin?
Next item we have on there, so that was for both
Yes.
resolutions, okay. So the next thing we had on there is just an organic management plan update. They completed the survey. The next advisory committee meeting will be on May 18th, and that will be for the draft final plan. And I will update as we go along. But the next meeting will be May 18th. The next thing,
Is that for the public? To attend?
yes, that's for the
Okay.
public to attend. Yep. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And the next item I have on there is the Household Hazardous Waste Days. We had our first one this past weekend. We had 135 participants at that Household Hazardous Waste Day, and I wanted to kind of go through fairly
That was
quickly.
in Warrensburg.
That was in Warrensburg. So just a quick synopsis: aerosols, 500 pounds, flammable liquids, 1,400 pounds, oxidizers, 300 pounds, pesticides, 1,200 pounds, acid and base material, 1,400 pounds, antifreeze, 1,000 pounds, fluorescent light bulbs, 1,900 linear feet. And then through the program with DEC, we have the paint care program, and they took in about 8,400 pounds of latex and oil-based paint, which equates to about 16 and a half 55-gallon drums of paint.
All right.
So they took in a significant amount.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Sounds like a success.
Yes. And the next one is coming up on August 26th at the Queensberry Highway Garage.
Very good.
And the registration for that one is already open.
Very good. Like moving the Parks and Rec next?
Yes.
All right. Without objection, we'll move right into the Parks and Recreation agenda.
You want to take the first one, Dean, or you want me to?
Sure, it doesn't matter. Did you want to speak first?
Good.
Wait.
No, go ahead and do the request.
Okay, so first item, the only action item we have for you today, with with regard to River Rail, is for an extension, for the track down to, excuse me, info, down to mile marker 87.22. We had discussion at our last meeting with regards to possibly utilizing more of the track. They had brought the discussion about expanding their operation of electronic bikes, maybe being able to get further down into the riparious area. Due to some research on that, that's not necessarily going to be able to take place, but we can offer to extend it down to within, it gives a buffer to Route 28 at 500 feet to allow them for a turnaround and utilize that section. So that is what's before you for the request.
All right, let's have a motion and second to bring this forward for discussion. Mr. Thomas on the motion, Mr. Bruno on the second, discussion.
This is the section they're already using in the
No,
northern,
it's not.
it's totally brand new.
Kevin?
I guess touch on it. So they come down to milepost 88 right now. This would give them not quite even a mile more, just down the track. And we've kept them away from Route 8 because there's a crossing at Route 8. And DOT was not comfortable with the crossing there because there is no signal. The signals are locked up in place and one of the signals is actually damaged. And so DOT didn't necessarily buy into that. They wanted, if they were going to cross, to use some type of I don't know, I want to say like push button ped pole to lower the gates. But I don't think that's where RevRail is here. So if we could allow them maybe possibly to speak, but that's what DOT's comments were. They came back to me. So we said at least they'll get down to 87.22, which keeps them far enough away from Route 8. They can turn the bikes around and head back up.
But my question was more, they're already in that area. This
No,
is,
they're not. They're down
they're
to
not.
88. They're not down to 87.22.
yes,
Yes.
but they're already going to 88.
Correct.
So, okay, thank you.
Your
This was
point-
that
your
one
point-
we had already added a while
It's
ago.
not a gigantic
Right.
adjustment. That's
Yeah.
your point.
Yes.
It's a good point.
But it has to be adjusted.
But it's still not crossing Route
Correct.
8 at the
Yeah.
point where we wanted to keep them away from that originally. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we have our friends for Revolution Rail. Would you, quickly, would you like to, say something here?
Molly and Ed.
Hi, everyone. My name is Molly McCarthy. I've met most of you already. I'm from Revolution Rail. I'm the community development liaison and the general manager for the Adirondacks. Thank you for having us. We're really excited to be here and be able to kind of talk about the extension that we're looking for. Last year, we did see a dip in the ridership for that South Run, which we utilized there. So we thought it was kind of a great opportunity to be able to extend that trip. We always get inquiries about a longer opportunity or a longer excursion. So we are looking to go just a little bit longer. The viewpoint is a little bit better from that point that we're looking to go to. So we are excited about that to be able to go a little bit further. We're also introducing electric bikes this year to be able to be a little bit more inclusive for those that might be intimidated by the length. And it's just kind of another great opportunity to get people outside and exploring the southern portion of the Adirondacks. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to.
Maybe just quickly, if you could just quickly in general number, the north leg as opposed to the south leg in terms of the number of.
Yeah, so I believe I actually don't have that number off the top of my head. But I do know that it was, we weren't filling total trips for that. So by offering it almost exclusively as a longer trip this year, we're hoping that the numbers go up.
The northern leg is more popular.
Yeah, at this time, yeah. So we're hoping that longer one it pulls the people in.
Okay,
So.
well, thank you. Well, thank you. And thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
wait a minute, just a moment.
I'm just curious to
Brainerd.
know. Yeah, it's not about this one, but are you operating yet in Essex County? To the
No,
north of us?
no, not yet.
Okay.
No, not at this time.
Two observations or questions. The first one is what I hear from the commissioner is something that sounds more like a safety issue. And whether this additional 3/4 of a mile is being provided to provide safer access to members using the existing track.
So to answer that is, as Molly just said, they wanted to extend they want to use electric bikes and make longer excursions on the track. So right now they currently go to 88. And Molly, maybe fill them in. How long would this excursion be? Like 16 miles or?
I think, yes,
Yeah,
just
I think
under that.
Down and back would be like 16 miles.
Correct.
From our standpoint, they originally wanted to use down to Repair Station, which is crossing Route 8. We asked them to reach out to DOT, and DOT did talk with Red Rail as well as myself. And they were concerned because at that section of Route 8, there is a very sharp corner coming into that, and the speed limit in that area is 55 miles an hour. So DOT had that concern. For me, I said, well, that's easy enough for us. We will stop them at 87.22, which keeps them 500 feet away from Route 8. So they won't even have to go down, and that would prevent maybe any of your riders even walking that far. They'll stay well away from Route 8. So for safety reasons, that's why I did that. I kept them away from Route 8.
Okay, so based on the fact that there's a safety reason, I'm assuming there's no monetary requirement for additional payment for the additional 3/4 of a route, and that 3/4 of a mile is being provided in part for safety reasons by the county. Yes? Okay. So there's no monetary compensation for the additional 3/4 of a mile. The second broader question is that this amendment, I believe, we will draft it through the end of this year. And then we'll have to have some significant conversations with this committee and with the company about the requirements to go out to bid.
RFP.
To RFP the existing use, especially given the fact that last year we did an RFP out for another section of track, but then did not award a contract for it. It seems we're at the point where we need to loop back around to make sure we follow the county contracting policies. Because it's my understanding that there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was no initial RFP done when this contract first went into effect.
Right.
So that's just kind of a, I guess, a warning order or something to look forward to as we kind of move through the summer, so that everybody's aware that there is a right to terminate on an annual basis under the current contract, which we would need to do in order to move forward with an RFP, and what that looks like for all of the track that's available within the county.
Okay, thank you. All right, then. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Committee,
Thank you,
what's the
Molly.
pleasure of the committee? We have a motion on the table. Are we ready to vote? Are we? Okay, good. All those in favor of the amended contract for Revolution Rail signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Kevin, next item.
I'll actually turn this over to Dean. Who's going to talk about the stocking report.
Yeah, very quickly, I provided that to everyone. I apologize if I didn't get the appropriate tables. I will hand it out as I walk around in a second or two. Certain undisclosed locations will be stocked. Actually, we have met.
Magnifying glass.
I apologize. Well, here's the bigger one. I apologize, sir. We're doing pretty well with stocking. We're meeting our requirements, as you can see from the table. We're actually out taking care of location. I'm gonna leave it brief because we get a lot of phone calls for people that want to find the hatchery trucks, but taking care of Chestertown and Johnsburg, but in particular, some of that stocking set up for some of the derbies coming up as well. But anyways, the only thing that you see that's a void there is the Screw River, which happens to be in that gentleman's backyard. And I'd probably take his NOAA reference if he calls me, but it's still at flood stage and there's no reason. We're just holding off. Temps are where they should be. Wait for the level of the water to get down so we can put them out there and they safely stay in the channel. So, but if there are any questions with regard to stocking, by all means, we are taking lots of phone calls and being asked why things are where, and they want to know where everything's going to be. So,
Dean, are you going to handle the next two items, the grants?
yeah, that's very briefly in summary. Yeah, if you will, we had asked for permission and also to follow through at our last meeting. We have secured those and we look forward, we accepted those. But if you weren't here before, Kristen was approved for the ZBA grant through Grants Gateway in New York State to secure $15,000 a year for Up Yonder for the next 4 years, which will be very supportive moving forward financially. And we secured, I secured a small little grant of $500. We have a panel on the Swede Mountain fire lookout tower that needs to be replaced. And I've been in touch with someone who can fabricate that, and we're hoping to make sure those two worlds meet and finish off the town.
Good work, Dean. Every
Oh, I apologize. Yes, and
every little
spring,
bit helps.
Spring Zing will be taking place Saturday the 13th. Please come out. Free food. It is a free event. We appreciate all our sponsors and the funding that's come through for that. There are going to be a lot of vendors. Everyone, Cornell Crop Extension, Proud Limited, a lot of fly tying, casting, demonstrations. Hopefully you've been there before, and free lunch. It's a great day. We usually pack the parking lot and a little bit of that field at Parks and Recreation. So we look forward to another great event.
Privilege of the floor. Anyone have any questions or comments for Dean? Then Kevin, would you like to work move in the public works? now?
Yes.
All right,
Thank
without objection, we'll move into public
Thanks,
works
Gino.
agenda.
Just a signature. one.
So the first item that we have on there is a transfer of funds, and this is just money is not put into the salary and ice code. So we're just transferring in there from salary, hospitalization and dental insurance. Dean, if you wait, I'll sign this.
Yeah, no problem. I'm not going.
All right, we have item one, request for transfer of funds. Chair, I'll entertain a motion, bring this forward. Mr. Bruno on the motion, Mr. Thomas on the second. Thanks, Frank. Any further discussion? There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Carried. Item number two.
The next one, I don't want this to be controversial. Here you go. I would like to create a resolution to put a moratorium on newly reconstructed and paved roads. I will give you some examples that we did Beach a couple of years ago, and then National Grid came in and punched a bunch of holes into Beach Road. So I don't think this is an unreasonable request. I want to make it a 5-year moratorium that they cannot do any work. No one can do any work within our roads unless it's an emergency. We typically notify National Grid, Verizon, Time Warner, and even any of the town utilities if they have water or sewer that we're doing road work, we're doing a project. If you need to do anything while we're in there doing the project, by all means, let's do it now. So with that being said, again, there are emergency situations. We had an emergency situation with the town of Bolton where they had to do a valve replacement on the water line, but I don't think this is unreasonable, and I want to make it kind of a 5-year moratorium, if the committee will agree.
It's like a magnet.
I'll make the motion.
So we have a motion by Supervisor Bramer, second by Supervisor Speck. Okay, further discussion?
See a new paved road.
I would assume that what we'll do is send out some sort of communication to these companies that, when you send out your notices, it's speak now or forever, or at least hold your peace for some number of years, right?
Unless it's an emergency.
Mr. Garrity?
Yeah, I mean, but if they could drive a pipe under a road, do you have a problem with that?
I know, if they do directional boring and things like that, it's fine. It's just an open cutting our roads. And again, it's happened to us more so than not happening. And I'm tired of it. We rebuild a road and then somebody's cutting it up on us.
Yep.
So a communication line, you would expect them to be off of the paved surface.
Correct.
Okay, property owner builds a home, they want,
And they have to go through permitting with us anyways for that
okay.
typically, so.
All right, then you've heard the motion. Are we ready for the question then? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried. Next item, Kevin.
The next 3 items are, since we're continuing, at least for this month, to go with the notice of intent to fill. I have 2 that are MEO, I'm sorry, all 3 of them are MEO lights, and 2 of them are due to promotions and 1 was due to a termination.
All right, Chair, I'll entertain a motion regarding 3, 4, and 5. Mr. Thomas on the motion, Mr. Merlino on the second. Any further discussion? Hopefully you'll find people.
Hope.
All right, then, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of filling the positions as specified signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item on there is a miscellaneous resolution for a certain town highway to be placed upon the county road map and accepting the town road. So I think I brought this up probably 2 months ago now, where the town of Lake George passed a resolution to give the road to the county without necessarily me accepting the road. This is Old State Road, which is just across the border from Warrensburg. There's one resident on the road, and then the other two occupants of that road are the county. It's the shooting range for the sheriff's office as well as our Tony pit. It makes perfect sense to us to have this road. It's less than a third of, it's 0.37 miles. We always maintain it. If we have any extra pavement that we've done on one of our projects, we'll typically bring down there and pave it on that road. So I can take this under my department. It's not an issue. But I have to bring it through committee based on past resolutions I had seen. And this would be called now County Road number 83.
I'll second it, but I have a question.
We have, we'll bring it forward for discussion. Ms. Bramer on the motion, Mr. Thomas on the second discussion.
Thank you. Are they going to ask us to pay them then to like plow, do
No,
things like that?
this will become a county road, so it'll be all on us now
Pretty much doing anything.
But
We don't
again-
have a contract with them to,
to maintain it.
no,
No, they were doing it. They were doing it. Now we will.
you just will.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. And again, my plow trucks and everything are right there, so it's very easy. I'm willing to do this, just as I said, because the shooting range is there, as well as our one of our main headquarters for one of our highway garages. This doesn't mean I want to open it up to the town to
Yeah.
give me roads.
Right, Mr. Thomas.
Is it up to spec? I mean, are we taking over a road that needs?
I mean, it needs some minor work, but for us, I mean, it's used mainly for the shooting range and our pit. So as far as drainage and shoulder wise, I mean, is the pavement in the best shape? No, but it's only for access for our trucks and things like that. So, and again, if we have extra pavement or things like that, we will do the work down through there. And it could be a good training area for some of our staff when we're putting them on equipment and stuff, because it's off the beaten path and we can bring guys over there to operate equipment, provide some training.
Any further discussion on the recommendation and the motion? There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? The motion is carried. Next item, Kevin.
The last item I have on there, and this was the updated, we got the bids in for a new contract for fuel maintenance services. And this is an on-call agreement. There was only one bidder. The bidder was Dalrymple. And they would take care of anything on our fuel pumps that we don't or can't typically do. And their bid tab was attached on the back. You didn't get a new one, hand and mug, everybody.
Privilege of the floor. Is there anyone wishing to address the committee at this point?
wasn't it? Mhm.
I did have a couple
I did
updates.
spot.
Yes.
So on the highway creation there, Cook County Road, can I request that the real property office get a copy of that resolution once it's final so we can add it to our tax map, please, as a county road?
I think the answer to that is absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
And
ask for
you had a couple items for discussion more, Kevin?
Well, I don't think we voted on the new contract for fuel services.
Oh, okay.
I don't see the contract for new fuel services.
Would you like?
Let me
to
see it, yeah. Okay, great.
Claudia's had a motion to approve for fuel services. We have a motion, Mr. Bruno on the second.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Carried. And then final?
So a couple quick updates on projects, and I know we're running behind here a little bit. So the Sagamore Road retaining wall, I know that we had a discussion regarding this, and I know I talked about eminent domain or going in the direction of eminent domain if we can't come to some conclusion with the property owner. And Larry and I are in discussions on that, and I think we'll get together shortly and I know we are reaching out to their attorney, the property owner's attorney, to have some discussions. The Bay Road and Stony Creek bridge projects, both of them are wrapping up. I informed Frank this morning that Stony Creek Road, County Route 2 over number 9 Brook will be paved May 8th and May 9th, and that'll complete that project. And the Bay Road Bridge project, there's some punch list items and some final paving that was to happen this spring, and that'll happen in May as well. We are expecting to receive final cost on both of those. As I spoke with Frank this morning, there were some extra costs associated with Stony Creek Road, and that was because we had some dewatering that took place when we had significant rain during the winter. And then we to speed up the process, we went with precast as opposed to cast in place, which cost a little bit more for that project. As far as federal aid projects, we have Quaker Road, Amsterdville Road, and the Johnsburg Bridge replacements. Quaker Road is going to start in May. Amsterdville Road has already started. They've done all their brushing and tree clearing, and pipes are starting to go in. And the Johnsburg Bridge replacements, they've demoed the Glen Creek Bridge, and they've done a lot of tree clearing, and they can't start their stream work until May 15th because of the restrictions with DEC. And as far as local funded projects, we have Coolidge Hill Road that is going out to bid on May 8th, and the bid opening will be May 25th. And then in the summer of this year, Diamond Point will go out to bid. Main Street will be bid this fall or late summer, and that's the one in Johnsburg. But we will have to wait until the town of Johnsburg finishes their water line, which I believe last discussion with the town is somewhere around the very beginning of November. And then the annual paving projects, the remainder of them will all start next week, and most of them will be done by July. There are a couple new projects that we're working on: River Street drainage in the town of Warrensburg, as well as some drainage issues around our administrative building. The one I really wanted to hit on today was the culvert assessment that we were doing through the Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board covered culverts within the Lake Champlain Basin. We are going to look to do a county funded portion of that to cover the remainder of the culverts within the county. There are approximately 1,500 culverts within Warren County. I'm not sure that we'll dive down into the 12 to 24 inch, but we will certainly look to work with the consultant and get a cost associated with the remainder of those culverts. We don't know what the cost will come in yet. The other cost, or the other ones that we'll look at around the Lake Champlain Basin, will be covered by the grant that we have to the Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board. The last one I have on there is Jim Lieberman's here from Soil and Water, and Jim is going to give a very quick update because we're coming up on the MS4 report. So if you'll allow me to turn it over to Jim.
Welcome, Jim.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Most of you know me. For those of you who don't, I'm Jim Lieberman, District Manager for the Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District, and your Stormwater Management Officer for your municipal separate storm sewer system for Warren County, which is just basically an urbanized areas designated by EPA and New York State DEC. The information, all this information that I discuss is at our district's website and at the county website, and all past reports are at the website. So Rob Hosford from IT has done a great job putting all that together at your website. We manage ours. But right now we developed the draft 2022-2023 report. Unfortunately, because of the timing of the signature when the permits are signed, it's March 9th to March 8th, which causes confusion at times for reporting. But the report is basically work that has been completed by the county within the urbanized area, and it's county facilities, county infrastructure, and dealing with county employees within there as far as education and such. There's 6 minimum control measures the county has to report on. That is this report. They range from education and outreach to public participation. When there is a project that needs a stormwater pollution prevention permit, Oxbow Hill Road is an example. Then there is reporting during construction and then post-construction. And then what most of this is falls under good housekeeping. And good housekeeping is our salt piles covered up at the DPW, basically at the south end shop. And this facility here, but due to how the DEC has defined it, it's quirky because this facility falls under the permit, but the sheriff's office does not. Don't judge me. That is the New York State government, how they determined it. So a couple items that I will just say before moving on is I worked with Amy Clute this year from Self-Insurance. Amy can play a role in this because of the information she sends out through Self-Insurance for spill prevention, spill training, things like that. So you get to report some information from Self-Insurance on that. Projects that Kevin has going on, everything from new projects to maintenance projects for roadsides and roads within the defined urbanized area works out well. And if you're not aware of it, those of you who were on the ARPA committee provided us funding to install 2 monitoring stations, one on Glen Lake, one on Lake Sunnyside. Those are the 2 lakes within the MS4 area. So that counts as well. So, trying to tie everything together. So you can go to our website, you can go to the county's website, you can go to the county administrator county administrator's office. You can go to Kevin's office, you can go to my office for hard copies. Take a look. Public comments are open until May 16th. Kevin will accept them. I will accept them. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Jim. Always welcome. Great job. Kevin, we want to wrap it up?
Yeah, one last quick thing, and for all the towns that are here, we did a salt bid this year because we wanted to see if we could get better bids than what OGS has been getting over the past couple of years, because Saratoga County is getting it much cheaper than what the OGS bid is. So I put out a salt bid, we got the numbers back. They did not come in any cheaper. In fact, they came in much higher. I don't know if the salt trucks just don't want to cross that Hudson River. So with that being said, we are going to OGS to do our normal procurement through them for salt. And I would suggest to the towns, if you haven't gotten your numbers in, they have to be in by today or by this afternoon. But I think we've already let most of the highway superintendents know it. And we've let even some of the town individuals know who do the procurement. So just to let you know that you got to have your numbers into OGS.
Okay. Mr. Chairman.
I got an email last week from our EMS captain or operations guy asking would there be any interest in having them build a building on county property up there in Morrisburg. And I was kind of taken off guard by that, but I need to sit and talk to you about that.
Okay.
All
All right.
Anything else? Anyone in the audience wishing to address the committee at this time? There being no one, thank you for your patience. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Bruno on the motion, Ms. Bramer on the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Okay.